What's going on, golf addicts? DB here to give you three sleepers for the AT&T Byron Nelson at TPC Craig Ranch. The last one I'm going to give you actually was one shot away from firing a tying course record at TPC Craig Ranch just last year when KH Lee won at 25 under and 200 to 1. These are three guys I think you should be paying attention to on DraftKings specifically in terms of value, in terms of ownership. It's always important to have those unpopular plays, those plays that are low owned mixed into your GPP lineups on DraftKings if you want to, really lap some people in the field and, cash big. So let's get started with my very first sleeper play, and it's going to be Johnny Vegas at 8.4K on DraftKings. He's 120 to 1 on FanDuel. That's the longest outright number I can find on him, and he's plus 210 to finish as a top 20 play here this week. Now, last week, Johnny V made his first start back since having a surgery, right? And it was circulating around Twitter. Well, what did he do last week after having said surgery? He he did pretty good. He actually gained about 10 strokes with his approach play, which is bananas for old Johnny V. He actually lost strokes, or I think he broke even off the tee, which is usually not the case for him because he's such a bomber. And you might look at that and be concerned, but I don't think you need to be concerned. TPC Potomac at Avenel Farm that hosted Wells Fargo last week is not necessarily bomber friendly in terms of hitting a bunch of drivers. And, it can be a little more penal around the rough. TPC Craig Ranch, not so. Wide open fairways, 40 yards in width, some of the widest fairways on the PGA Tour, and definitely suits the Bombers. Johnny V is also a University of Texas guy. I want to open up Fantasy National and take a look at some other things that I think Johnny V you might want to pay attention to with old Johnny V. So here we go. Now I haven't set up any model or anything yet, so this is just looking at the last 24 rounds on Fantasy National. I haven't had time to dig into the model yet, but here's what Johnny V's doing right now. This is just the last 24 rounds. 15th in ball striking, 6th on approach. Here's what I really like: second in DraftKings points in the last 24 rounds. Now, that's important because this is going to be a birdie fest. Cage Lee won at 25 under. It may not get to 25 under this year. I think the course played a little softer last year than it will for this year. But I think 18 to 20 under, absolutely, for sure. Let's take a look at his player card and dig a little deeper into what Johnny V is doing here. Let's see. I want to share. Hmm, Stop sharing that. Let's get to this guy. Why is this? Okay, here we go. Johnny V's player card. He was owned around 8.3%. You see that at the Wells Fargo. He's a bad putter in general. At least bent grass is not his worst surface. It is what it is. Plays really good in windy conditions, which it is going to be a little windy this year. And then also gains a lot more strokes in average or easy conditions or scoring, which is what we're going to see here for sure. But look at this, man. Lost 6 strokes off the tee. I think he was just bombing away or something. I don't know what he was doing. But 10 strokes on approach is massive for Johnny Vegas. 15th at the Wells Fargo, 18th at the Valero Texas Open. I said he's a University of Texas guy, very familiar, very comfortable in Texas. He was ninth at the Byron Nelson last year. I want to say it was his best performance at the Byron Nelson. We moved to Craig Ranch last year, and here he puts up his best performance, gaining strokes across the board, which is pretty awesome. He's also a par 5 monster. Like if we look here, par 5 efficiency on Fantasy National, you can see like the guy just crushes par 5s. It's just a lot of green. So I like that about Johnny V. So Johnny Vegas 8.4K. He's also in that range like, and this is where I think he's going to be a little overlooked. People are going to he's just not a sexy name to click. He's in that range where this could be kind of a dead zone other than maybe the low 7K with I think Aaron Wise, who could be a popular play. But I think a lot of people are going to load up in that 9 and 10K range, and we could find a pretty dead 8K spot there on DraftKings. So Johnny V at 8.4 I think is worth a look. Before I get to my next play, I got to tell you guys about the brand new sponsor at the Tour Junkies, Front Nine Coffee. Great coffee, artisan coffee delivered anywhere in the US and Canada. Basically, the coffee is so fresh. It's not sitting in a bag on a grocery store, getting all gassed up and nasty, right? Don't buy that stuff, right? If you want good coffee, just get this kind of stuff. Right now, it's if you order today, the bean that you're going to get is probably still green. When you order today, the next day or maybe the next day, it's going to be freshly roasted by a roaster in Greenville, South Carolina. It can be you can get a coarse grind, a fine grind, whatever you want. You can, select that when you order. You can get the whole bean in the bag if you want, and they've got all kind of delicious flavors to choose from. And in fact, they're going to be making Pat his very own private label flavor very, very soon. But support these guys. They're supporting the Tour Junkies all year. They're supporting our live golf event in September in Pennsylvania. You'll see them there. They're going to be supplying the coffee for that event. Support them. Go to front9coffee.com and use promo code TJ10 to get 10% off your entire order. You can use that over and over again. It would help us out. It would help them out. They're just a great company. So let's get on to the next sleeper here. Moving down the DraftKings board a little bit is a guy that everybody knows I love to love, right? But he's been paying off. And I get it again. He's not a sexy name to click. You're like, why am I doing this to myself? But, he gets the job done, like a lot of things. Some of you out there, y'all probably aren't real sexy to look at, but you get the job done when you need to. You know what I mean? He's 7.7K on DraftKings. 80 to 1 is the longest number I can find for him outright, and plus 275 to top 20. And it's Lanto Griffin, and he's right there below Maverick McNeely. He's there with Siwoo Kim. He's there with Mito Pereira. I think, Sebastian Munoz. These are all names that people love to play. And Lanto's just not the sexiest name out there. A lot of people don't like to play him. So let's share the screen here and look at Lanto Griffin on Fantasy National. He's definitely a long hitter. He bomber, 118 mile an hour club head speed. Let's see. In his 11 starts so far on the PGA Tour in 2022, look at his finishes. 11 starts in 2022. He's got 4 top 16s, a third, and then he finished 6th just last week at the Wells Fargo. Now, the last 2 weeks, I've touted him as a top 20, and look what he's done, 15th and 6th. The game is trending nicely for Lanto. The irons, the ball striking, very solid. He was 9th at the Byron. I'm sorry, not 9th. That was Vegas. My bad. His best putting surface you can see up here is bent grass. I mean, he's a good putter in general, but that's his best putting surface. You know where Lanto Griffin has won a PGA Tour event? Well, it's been right there at the Houston Open. Check that out. Houston Open winner, so in Texas guy. But look at the oh man, I mean, just almost 9 shots gained on approach his last 2 starts, 8.8 shots gained off the tee his last 2 starts. The guy is just he's killing it. Okay, now here's what he sucks at. He sucks at scrambling, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter here. This is going to be a birdie fest. If your guys are having to scramble, they're dead anyway. And this is one of the easiest courses statistically, at least it was last year, one of the easiest courses since 2015 on the PGA Tour, since they started keeping track in terms of scrambling around the greens. So the big glaring weakness for Lanto around the greens just doesn't matter. This is a scoring fest that I think he can take advantage of. I mean, look here. He also gains the most strokes in easy conditions. So I think Lanto is for sure in play at 7.7K, and he's not gonna get a lot of ownership because he's got some darlings there around him. Maverick McNeely, Mito, all those guys. All right, let's get to the last play. Now, this guy nearly tied the course record in 2021. And listen, before I get to this, if you like these videos, whether they're good or not, right? Give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe, comment on the video. I'd like to know, actually, this week the comment should be, who's a chalky play? Who's a real chalky play that you see this week? A popular play that you're probably going to go ahead and play anyway. You're going to roster anyway. You're going to eat the chalk anyway. We saw that last week again at the Wells Fargo. We saw it with John Rahm in Mexico. There is always chalk that you probably should eat, right? Cam Young was chalky. Max Homa actually ended up being chalky. By the way, yours truly hit Max Homa at 40 to 1 on DB's Big Balls betting card. Free article you can read on tourjunkies.com anytime you want. Go ahead and pat myself on the back with that one. But who's your chalky play that you're tempted by and you probably end up playing? Put that in the comments. I'd be interested. All right, so for my final play, my final sleeper is a guy who, last year in 2021, right here on this golf course in the first year. Now, he didn't have a great finish. He didn't have a great finish. He finished 47th, but he shot a 63, 1 shot off the course record held by Sam Burns and Ryan Palmer. And it's $7,200. It is JJ Spawn, all right, who is 110 to 1 outright on DraftKings and plus 350 to top 20 on DraftKings. Always low owned, like always in the 3% range, right? 5% maybe. His highest I've seen him in a long time was like 9% at the RBC Heritage, where he missed the cut. That was after, by the way, he just won the Valero Texas Open in Texas, right? And then he followed that up with a 23rd place finish at his very first Masters, which is awesome. And then everybody was pumped, so they rostered him at 9% at the RBC, and he missed the cut. It's not a big deal, but he's at 7,200. He's near names like Tom Hoagie, Matt Neesmith, who people like to play. Matt Wolff had a great week last week. He might eat up some ownership. Sahith Theegala is at 7,100. He's going to eat up a little bit of ownership. So he's in this range where I definitely see people, um, you know, I see people wanting to go elsewhere, and JJ Spawn doesn't feel like the name that you want. But let's take a deep dive into JJ Spawn here on Fantasy National and see what's up. Um, he's not a super long hitter, but he's one of those that's long enough. Like KH Lee's not a super long hitter either. And actually, the course played longer last year than I think it's going to play this year because of the soft conditions. I mean, I definitely think Bombers have a tremendous advantage because it is so wide open off the tee, but it doesn't mean that they have to be the Bombers to make to do that. His ball striking all of 2022 has just been tremendous. I mean, starting here at the Sony, the ball striking numbers. So when I say ball striking, I'm looking at off the tee and approach combined. Like, look at all the green here for JJ Spawn, and then you can kind of see it building up to the win, right? Even with the miscut at the Players, he was still like what 3.1 strokes gained ball striking. Then it improves at the Valspar, then bang across the board at the Valero. Finally has a good putting week, and everything works out for him. Now Valero, I don't believe is bent grass greens. I think those are Bermuda, and bent is his worst surface by a long shot. So yeah, I mean that's concerning. But he's 7.2K. Obviously, that's the thing. He's played at the Byron Nelson before. He even has a third place finish. It was in 2018, and it was not at TPC Craig Ranch. But he's a good stick, man. He's just one of those, around the green, who cares? Like perennially bad around the green, don't care again this week. Like I said with Lonto Griffin, putting perennially kind of average to slightly below average putting, but he has these weeks where it pops, and when it does, because his ball striking has been so solid, I think JJ Spawn is interesting. I mean, look at the ownership numbers too recently. 5.1 at Valero, 1.3 at Valspar, 1.2 at the Masters. Like I said, jumped up at the Heritage where he missed the cut. No big deal. I do want to show you this as well on JJ, and then we will button this up. If we look over the last 24 rounds, and again, I didn't have the model built out, but you can see this. I'll just pull JJ up so we only see him. All right. So, I mean, look at the last 24 rounds here. 21st in this field, and this is a strong field. This is not a field, this is not a crappy field. 21st in ball striking. That's 14th off the tee, despite being an average to maybe slightly above average hitter in terms of distance, but puts the ball where he wants to off the tee. 31st in approach and 22nd in DraftKings points scored. You're going to have to score a lot of points. Got to have a lot of birdies this week in DraftKings. And for a guy at 7,200, I think JJ Spawn has a pretty high floor and a decent ceiling. As we just saw him win. I mean, the Valero was a weak field, but I don't know. It could happen. It could definitely happen. So there we go. 3 sleepers. Give me a like. Give me a comment. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this video with a few people if you've got any fellow golf degenerates in your life. It would really help us if you shared it. And leave me a comment. Who's the chalky play, the popular play that you're probably going to roster anyway and you can't get enough of? Hit me with that, and let's have a great week, and may your screens be green. See you.